Hello, I'm Philip Chase. Welcome to my channel on the best of fantasy. Today, I'll be reviewing Steven Erikson's Fall of Light. This is book 2 of the Kharkanas Trilogy, the trilogy that precedes the Malazan Book of the Fallen by hundreds of thousands of years. Now, after finishing this book, I feel like I've just run a marathon, and that is something I've actually done before, so I do know how it feels, and I don't mean it lightly. I feel exhausted but incredibly fulfilled. I feel a sense of awe, sense of wonder, and just a sort of keen extra awareness right now. It's just an incredible feeling having finished this book, I have to tell you. And it begins and ends with a battle. But Erikson doesn't present battles in a way that is conventional at all. The first battle is preceded by an incident that both foreshadows and overshadows the battle itself. And this is the violent death of a little boy at the hands of a little girl whom he has struck with a rock. And this incident, it sets the tone for the battle, for the entire book, and for the book-long meditation on humanity's nature. Fall of Light continues from Forge of Darkness, book 1 of the Kharkanas Trilogy, with the story of the Teist. Now the Teist Andi and the Teist Leosan, and we're beginning to see the origins as well of the Teist Idur. And there are loads of Easter eggs for fans of the Malazan Book of the Fallen, as well as some fascinating backstories to some beloved characters you thought you knew. And there are some events that take on a sharp edge with the knowledge of the actions and events that will involve these characters hundreds of thousands of years in the future. There's also a revealing glimpse at the origins of magic, and plenty to learn about the Azathanai, the gods who are not gods. And there's also a lot that we learn about Mother Dark, who makes her first real appearance in Fall of Light. And we also get dragons, the Elaint, who have an interesting relationship with the Teist. Fall of Light is a deeply thoughtful book, and if you're not a fan of Malazan, frankly, you're definitely not going to want to read Fall of Light or its predecessor, Forge of Darkness. Even some fans of Malazan have a hard time getting through the Kharkanas Trilogy, and it has a lot to do with the vast amount of introspection and philosophy. And much of it occurs in a monotone that characterizes the Teist nobility. And a lot of people even refer to these books as Shakespearean. And I think that might be a slightly flawed comparison in some ways, if it makes people think of Shakespeare the way so many students of literature think of Shakespeare, as something unenjoyable but somehow good for you, like eating broccoli, I guess. However, it could be a good comparison if it means to imply a work that is filled with eye-opening meditations, insightful humor, and some tragic action. And I actually was reminded at times of some moments in Shakespeare, for example, Rosencrantz and Guildenstern from Hamlet, in the exchanges between Prazek and Dathanar, who are houseblades of Anomander rakes. And they frequently banter with one another with some really fun verbal sparring, some absurd wit, and all of it serves to hide some very keen minds and some interesting philosophy. As always, Erikson's prose is just brilliant and incredibly sensitive, with minimal hand-holding, leaving the reader to get invested as he or she figures things out. Honestly, it did take some persistence for me to get through the book, especially the first few hundred pages or so. But I am so glad that I persisted to the end of this gorgeous, heart-rending, and mind-purging book. I want to show you something, actually. I usually don't put marks in a book or make dog ears or anything like that. But this time, you know, and normally I have a few moments when I'm reading a book that I'm invested in, where I'm just in awe and I have to kind of put down the book, one of those, oh, wow moments. Well, I had, I don't know if you can see this, but I have a bunch of tabs here. I had so many of those moments while I was reading Fall of Light. It was just an incredible revelatory experience for me. So I am very glad that I persisted and got to the end of this book. Now, of course, a book of that caliber is going to have some wonderful thematic content. As always, Erikson's writing is really thematically driven, as I've said many times before, which is something that could be an adjustment for many readers who expect a character-driven story these days. Not so much with Erikson, although his characters, as I've also said many times, are incredibly vivid and very well drawn and just absolutely engaging. But what drives the narrative is the theme, and he is a master of portraying the universal in the personal. Erikson is just very skilled at inserting these themes. For example, how civilization is a mask to disguise the fact that our most base qualities still rule us, marking not progress. Civilization is not about progress, but it's a spread of ourselves into broader ranges of destruction. Witness how we glorify violence and war and revenge. Vengeance is a big theme in this book. Also, our heroes are often those who embody our most violent qualities. And such ideals have led us to destroy not only others of our kind, but also much of the world around us. And what enables our celebration of our dominance and our destruction is our seemingly endless capacity for self-deception, both on a personal level and at the level of history. Fall of Light shows on a very literal level what would happen if our capacity to delude ourselves were taken away from us. It shows how in the world we've created, love, empathy, and compassion become so fragile and yet so necessary and beautiful. Handled in a way that is unique to Erikson, love and compassion are central to the story. And the message, so clear and simple in this vast tapestry, is put forward by none other than Mother Dark herself on page 813 in the book. And let me read what she's saying in a dialogue with her High Priestess. Mother Dark speaking now. Here it is then. Don't hurt other people. In fact, don't hurt anything capable of suffering. Don't hurt the world you live in either, or its myriad creatures. If gods and goddesses are to have any purpose at all, let us be the ones you must face for the crimes of your life. Let us be the answer to every unfeeling, callous, cruel act you committed, every hateful word you uttered, and every spiteful wound you delivered. Such moments of compassion and also some humor comes as a relief in the grim narrative of that most vicious of wars, the Civil War, with Erikson's trademark humor coming to the fore more often than it did in Forge of Darkness. Once again, I loved the moments with the eccentric and often absurd Jagut, such as Gothos with his endless suicide note. But there's also a melancholy even there that pervades the Jagut part of the story as Hood prepares his army for the war on death. Fall of Light ends in trademark Erikson fashion, completely unpredictably. The climactic battle scene is told in a surprising manner that emphasizes the pathos of it rather than glorifying it. I've actually never seen anything quite like that battle scene as Erikson wrote it. I was actually baffled by it at first and then in awe of it. And the shocks continue until the very last page. You could be forgiven for thinking that the book has come to some kind of resolution, but a final twist upends everything and sets up the final book of the trilogy. I cannot recommend this book highly enough. to those people who are fans of the Malazan Book of the Fallen and Stephen Erikson's writing. I just think it's quintessentially Stephen Erikson, this Kharkanas Trilogy, and I'm very, very excited for the third book of it. I have it from a reliable source that Erikson has actually gone back to the Kharkanas Trilogy to finish up book 3, so that is something that we fans of his work very much have to look forward to. So if you enjoyed this review and you're interested in fantasy in general, I would ask that you like and subscribe, and please come again. I'll be doing some more reviews of some great fantasy in the weeks to come. So until next time.